Welcome to Women Mastering Midlife, where we dive deep into the rich complexities of womanhood in our middle years. I'm your host, Victoria Bird, a pharmacist, certified women's health coach, and your guide on this transformative journey. Whether you're navigating perimenopause, thriving in menopause, or mastering midlife's many transitions, this is your weekly dose of expert guidance, compassionate support, and a judgment-free space to explore it all. Together, we will rewrite the narrative around this remarkable stage from being something to dread into a beautiful transition. Today on the podcast, I'm very excited to have with me Dionna Hickox. She is somebody that I have met through the wonderful world of Instagram. There are some dark sides to social media, but there's also a very bright light. And part of that bright light is Dionna. I have been following her since she began her Instagram journey in 2017. I looked back at our messaging and it has gone that far back. So for the last 7 years, I have watched her grow and evolve, become an empty nester, become a van life wife. She's a dog mom. She is in the middle of her perimenopause journey and she is taking it by the horns. I just love the fact that she's not an expert. She's not an influencer. She's just sharing everyday life for her. This is what she is living. This is what she is trying. She is living life with a gusto. She has the most infectious laugh. And I think that she is one of the positive beacons in social media. So I suggest you follow her. If you are looking for hair tips, follow her husband, Justin. He has quite the YouTube channel. And this week we get into what her life has been like and what life is like in perimenopause for somebody who had no idea what was coming, has no background or education of what to expect, and she's in the thick of it. So I thought that having episodes with real women with real experiences would be just as important as the expert episodes. So I'm so thankful that she is one of my coveted guests. I have been trying to pin her down to record, so I'm very glad that we finally did it, and I hope you enjoy. So hi, Dionna. Thank you so much for coming on. I feel like we've kind of been playing schedule tag. You are a very busy woman to pin down.
Well, I am excited to be chatting with you today.
Yeah. So first of all, for people who don't know, I have known you in air quotes, since they are going to see that on the internet since I was looking back. The first time that we said hello to each other was September of 2017. So for the last 7 years, I have followed your Instagram story and development. And I feel like I know you on a very close level because you are very good at sharing not only the good and the exciting, but also the not so awesome parts of life. Yeah. And so I'm excited to get into it with you because, like we were saying before I hit record, it's wonderful to have doctors and nurses come in and explain hormones and perimenopause on a medical level. But there's a lot of women who can really relate to some of your experiences and how you kind of came to figure out what was going on. And so it's nice to also listen to someone else and say, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. So thank you so much for coming on and being willing to share.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So in the beginning, when we first started seeing your life unfold on Instagram, it was a lot of working out and, lifting weights, trying new exercises. I loved watching your workouts with your dog in your garage. That's how long ago, like my brain fog, I'm like, can I think back that far? But I still remember watching, you working out in your pink robe, in your beanie, in your freezing garage with your puppy, and just sharing your journey because it felt relatable, that you aren't somebody who's a fitness guru who's been in it forever. And so tell me a little bit about how you got started.
Well, so I didn't really start my health and fitness journey until I was in my late 30s. So my husband was a gym rat. He loved going to the gym. And I'm like, you have fun with that. I'm going to stay at home in my robe, eating my bonbons and doing all the things, right? And so he would try to encourage me to go to the gym, but I just wasn't having it. And really it was partly because I was really intimidated by the gym. I saw everybody that looked fitter than me, that was more athletic than me, that was lifting more weights. And honestly, I didn't know how to lift weights. And I was afraid I was going to do everything wrong. So if I ever did go to the gym with them, I would go on the treadmill in the corner because I know how to walk. But one day, my husband came home with these P90X DVDs. And he's like, do you want to do this with me? And I'm like, not really, but okay, it's at home, so I'll give it a whirl. His thought process was, okay, I'm going to get her liking working out, and then I'll go back to the gym. That's what his thought was. So I worked out with him. I can't say I enjoyed it. I didn't. Like, it was hard, right? Like, my body at the time, I was actually a smoker. I was a smoker for like 20 years. So it just wasn't, it wasn't enjoyable, but I did it. And then after we finished that program, my husband was approached and said, hey, do you want to be a Beachbody coach? Right. And honestly, like, my thought was like, MLM, because I've had in my past bad experiences with that. So I wasn't having it, but I eventually conceded and said, okay, I'll do this with you. But I did it for my own accountability. And oh, hello, surprise. And, brought some ladies on the journey with me, because I'm like, at that time, I wasn't really working out for myself when we decided to partner with Beachbody. I wasn't really invested in doing things for myself, but I sure as heck am going to show up for other people. So since I had like 3 or 4 ladies that were going to be doing this next program with me, it was called PIO. I was like, all right, I got to show up because they're committed to me. So I need to be committed to them. And then that's actually kind of what really officially started my workout journey, because I was like, wow, I got to show up for these ladies. And doing that, I found inspiration. And by working out, I found confidence in myself. And so that's kind of how our journey began. And I think that was, probably 12 or 13 years ago, I think was the very beginning of that.
And so by the time we saw you on social media, you had already been doing the Beachbody workouts for a little while. And I do remember some back in the day of you and the hubs working out together. And I just loved your approach. Sometimes you would heckle him a little bit. And it was always entertaining to watch. But I think one of the things that was really relatable to me was that I wasn't somebody who was like super fit. I wasn't a gym kid. I knew a lot of people who, like, they grew up around athletics their whole life. They were into sports when they were younger. And so it just, I don't want to say anything is easy for somebody else, but it always felt like that was already part of their routine in their life. And so to start in midlife when you've already had kids, things are already kind of slowing down. They're getting a little creaky. They don't work like they used to. I think that it was so relatable, and you helped other women say like, okay, I can do this too. I don't think I ever jumped on one of your like live come work out with me's, because you work out far too early in the morning for me.
I work out a little bit later now, but at that time I had a full-time job and I was like, okay, I've got to do, I got to do it when I can. So yeah, it was pretty early in the morning at that time.
But it was also a sign that you can do it. You can figure out, no matter how busy you are, you can figure it out. You can make the time and prioritize yourself. And I think that you really helped show women that was something that is possible.
That makes me happy to hear, because that was kind of the point. Like, I'm going to show up imperfectly, and I want to inspire other women that, like, it doesn't have to look perfect. You don't have to look like the people in the gym or on the workouts or whatever. Just move your body and be proud of that. And, removing those excuses, because I was the person that I'm like, I'm not going to get up that early in the morning. There's no way. I'm not a morning person. But I found that, like, I had 2 kids at home, so I'd work full time, come home, have to make dinner, have to do homework and stuff like that. And afternoons and evening workouts just weren't doing it, because I was like, all right, it was just really easy to have excuses get in the way. And so with getting up 30 minutes, 45 minutes earlier than I typically would, it eliminated those excuses, right? Because I'm like, nobody's up. I don't have anything else going on. I just have to sacrifice 30 minutes, 45 minutes of sleep, which means I can just tack it on the end and go to bed like 30, 45 minutes earlier.
So we saw that, and you talked about your kids and being home. And then all of a sudden, your children were moving out and going away from your house and leaving you as an empty nester. And I think that's an experience that, I did a podcast episode with a family coach talking about your children, like raising adult children, being a parent to adult children, and also finding yourself again when your kids are gone. And so you shared a little bit about your experience as a new empty nester. How was that for you emotionally, life-wise?
It sucked. Honestly, it still kind of sucks, because like I still have this dream fantasy that, like, I'm going to own this compound. I'm going to own all this acreage, and I'm going to have, my daughter live in one house. I'm going to live in another house. My son's going to live in another house, and we're going to live happily ever after. odds are that's never probably going to happen. But like it sucks, especially when you identify as a mom. That's kind of, you're like, oh, I don't really have any other identity other than being a mom. And so when they start leaving or they don't need you as much, then it's like, now what? Where's my purpose? Where's my identity? And honestly, I always joke that I'm like, I got my dog, my youngest dog, Kevin, at the perfect time, because as they were starting to leave the nest, my dog is very needy, and so it needs me. And I think a lot of us moms like to be needed, even though you're like, oh my God, if I hear my name one more time. But really you're like, I like that. I like to be needed and have a purpose. And so when you don't have that, it's like you feel kind of lost. And I'm still trying to navigate parenting adult children, because now you can't really say you're in trouble, you're grounded if you see them make a bad decision. You just have to be there and support them, allow them to make those hard decisions and make those mistakes, and be there to support them versus giving advice that I like to give a lot, because I'm like, I've been around the block, I know the answer, but they really don't want to hear it. So that's a challenge for sure.
But it also gave you room to start trying new things, and you guys packed up your house, you sold your house, and you moved into a van, and
Yes.
you decided you were going to live van life. And I want to know about this, because I love my husband. We've been together for a long time, and there is no way he could convince me to do what you did. So how did that all come? How did that come about?
So I'll start this by saying it was my husband's dream to live in a van. I'll start there. And so he's a dreamer, right? So he has a lot of dreams. Like once he wanted to move to Thailand, and so I was just like, okay, this is just another like crazy dream that you have. It'll pass. But it didn't pass. And so I was like, we're in the space that we have the opportunity to travel and work on the road. So I'm like, maybe this will be okay. I'm a pretty go with it, or I like to think I'm a pretty go with the flow kind of person. So I'm like, yeah, well, this is your dream. I'm going to be the good wifey and I'm going to support it. And so he spent the next 4 or 5 months working with a company and having a van custom built to his specifications. My only thing was, I just want some cabinets and I want it to look cute on the inside. And yeah, he flew to, oh my gosh, I can't remember where we picked it up, but he flew to the Midwest, picked up the van, drove it home. And I was packing up our stuff, and August 31st of, I can't remember what year that was, 2022, we hit the road for full-time van life. And I use air quotes because it did not end up becoming full-time van life. It became part-time van life, part-time Airbnb life for one entire year with 2 dogs. And vans are very, very small, very small.
Yeah. And for people who don't know, Kevin is not a lap dog.
No, he's a 110-pound Bernese Mountain Dog, and then we have a 20-pound Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. So it was snug.
So let's pack up our large dog and live in a van for a year, and that's going to turn out perfect.
Yeah, perfect. Like, Instagram worthy. So if you during COVID and things like that, there were a lot of van lifers, and they made it look so beautiful and glamorous, and there were moments of that, but reality was it sucked. I did not like I loved moments of it, but I did not like everything. Decision fatigue is real. Half the time we didn't know where we were going to sleep that night, because we're like, where do we want to go? Which is an amazing gift, to be able to go, where do we want to go, here or here, but not having a plan. And weather changes that you don't think, just a lot of things that you don't think about until you're living it. You're like, oh, that would have been nice to know, or kind of pre-plan for, but you don't know until you kind of jump into it. And we found out quickly that it wasn't all beautiful and Instagram worthy.
The nice thing about all your travel is that you decided to move outside of where you were originally and settle someplace else, which was nice.
Yes.
So that gave you that part of the adventure.
Yeah, for sure. Like we kept feeling called back to where we are, which thankfully is only 3 hours away from where we lived previously. But yeah, so that was a gift. So we got to visit a bunch of places and go, where do we want to plant roots next? And Bend, Oregon kind of checked a lot of the boxes. So yeah, so we've been here for a year, which is really nice to have a home base and like have your own furniture and your own things and not live out of a suitcase. So yeah, very happy.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how you could ever be. I can't ever be convinced that would be a fun idea.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, there was one time I remember vividly, I don't remember what caused it, but I remember doing the dishes one day and my husband Justin came in and he said something that just I just go, you know what? And I like threw down like the plastic plate and the like scrubby and I just beelined it to the woods. I'm like, I'm out of here because, close quarters, it does get you. And then it started getting dark. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know my way back. So I threw a little temper tantrum, in the middle of the woods. And then, so then I'm grabbing the nearest stick and I'm like, think I'm going to fight anything off that comes after me. But, and in the meantime, he's like trying to find me too. And, I have my phone because that's smart. You can't storm off and go, hold on, let me storm off. But hold on, I got to grab my phone first. And so, yeah. So there were a couple of moments like that weren't so pretty.
I think the need to have, we need to go to our own corners, and not even if it's not even just when you're arguing or not getting along. It's even just to separate. I need to be able to sit somewhere quietly and just be alone for a minute by myself. So I don't know, in a van, I don't even know if we would have lasted as long as you did, honestly.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Like, and there's nothing wrong with, I used to always feel bad thinking that, oh, if I need alone time, it's going to tell my husband that I don't love him or want to be with him. But it's like, I think it's important for all of us, men and women, to, enjoy our own company and kind of have that downtime by ourselves so we can recharge our batteries.
Oh, for sure. So when you moved into your now permanent location and your residence, I noticed on your Instagram you started talking about things that sounded like perimenopause was starting to rear its ugly head for you. And you don't have a medical background or a science background of any kind. You're just, a quote unquote normal woman who's experiencing this. And what was that like for you in the beginning?
In the beginning, it was weird because I didn't know necessarily that it was perimenopause, right? And I can remember when we actually lived at our house before van life, like I remember getting frozen shoulder and that lasted for like a year. And I would beat myself up going, oh, I'm working out wrong. Oh, my form's off. Oh, and I would just get frustrated because it was really debilitating. And I didn't realize that, and it wasn't until I actually got frozen shoulder in the other shoulder that I was talking to a naturopath friend of mine. And she's like, that's like the number one symptom of perimenopause. And I'm like, what? And just hearing that for some reason made me feel normal. Because before I'm just like, oh, again, why am I doing this wrong? Dumb body. Why aren't you working right? Why aren't you, and just hearing that, I'm like, oh, I'm not broken. Like things are changing in my body. So I need to give myself grace. I need to like not be so hard on myself. So that kind of like was the little trigger that I'm like, oh, because I didn't know, I thought perimenopause was hot flashes. I thought it was, no periods. I didn't know it was, I didn't even know what brain fog was. Like when people talk about brain fog, now I know what brain fog is. Words are hard. That's like my quote in the house all the time because I'll be just talking and I'm like, that thing that has like 4 legs and it's furry and I love it really a lot. And my husband's like, a dog? I'm like, yes, a dog. I don't know why my brain didn't think of the word dog, but yeah. So just getting that validation was really eye-opening to me. And I was like, man, and that's kind of when I started sharing my menopause journey because I really wasn't trying to be a menopause page or, share because I'm not an expert. But then I was like, man, if I felt that way, I know other women have felt that way. So if I can share my story and then they're like, those light bulb moments go off, like, me too. I thought I was the only one. I'm not alone in this. Then we can support each other as a community because it is kind of a weird transition to try to navigate and figure out.
Yeah. And I think that that's so important for women to recognize is that it's not, it's not always the rage, hot flashes, not having a period that tells you that you're having something changing inside your body. And when you recognize it, it does help you feel normal. And I think that one of the things I enjoyed watching from you is just how openly you were sharing your experience, and then you began to hear the "oh, me toos" from other women.
Yeah, it's great because I feel like at this age, there's such a gift in growing older, aging, because one of the big things is like not worrying so much about what other people think, right? And being able to share your truth and speak your truth and being supportive to other people that are in that place. So I've been very blessed and had a lot of very amazing conversations with women privately, via DMs and stuff like that of, not only me encouraging them or educating them based upon my own life experiences, but people helping me like, hey, have you tried this? Oh my gosh, I just learned about this product or this tool or whatever, and really kind of being a resource for each other.
And I've seen that you've tried everything from face creams to artificial bangs that you clip on your hair. So you're sharing and sparing some of the things for other women.
Yeah. I kind of, when my 49th birthday, I made it a plan to have 1 year of just trying to be my most healthy and fit by my 50th birthday, right? So it's trying out like things that I haven't tried before, and maybe, the some things might work, some things might not. They might be all fluff and, smoke and mirrors, and other things might be, I didn't realize that. But just kind of being really interested in what's out there so we can make the next phase of our life the best phase of our life, be strong, be active. So yeah, I have a couple exercise equipment tools that I'm going to be trying out pretty soon that are a little unconventional, and I honestly don't exactly know how they work. But I'm excited to try them out, because it's like, if we can find alternate and fun ways to get our bodies moving and strengthen them, then yeah, I'm gonna share it, and I'm gonna try it and give my honest feedback on all of it.
I've seen the trampoline, which excites me, but at the same time, I just think I would just pee all over myself. So I'm hesitant to try that one. But I have seen the shake. Did you have a shake board too at some point?
Yeah, vibration plate. Yeah, because when I was talking to Dr. Mary Claire Haver, she's a menopause specialist as well, we were talking about bone density and bone health, and she was saying that there were some research or some studies that showed that those vibration plates can actually help with bone strengthening. And I mean, strength training does that as well, but I'm like, man, if I, I am very fortunate that I have the means to, purchase gadgets like that, to, maybe just those little additions to my strength training routine, that I'm gonna try it out, and it's kind of fun. I had my husband go on it, and now he can twerk. It helps him do. He just sticks his butt out, and it like jiggles. So it's really good.
Have you made a reel of that yet? Yeah, exactly.
I haven't, but I should. It's so funny. I'm like, wow, yeah. I'm gonna do it. I wonder if he'll let me. Maybe not. Maybe hidden camera.
That you should sneak it into his YouTube channel. If for those of you who don't see, I feel like I'm a stalker because I just feel like I know all the things. But he has a YouTube channel, and I was looking, like, he has quite a following. Like, it's not like a dinky little, like, my YouTube account I think has 3 followers, and it might be myself on a different account, and my mom is too. But I think that you should sneak that into his YouTube account, and I think his followers would really like that.
I think I should. I think I should maybe go get in cahoots with his editor and go, hey, just slide this in after the fact, and we'll see what we can do, because I think his audience would love it.
Yeah, I think so. So you've talked about, you have a friend that's a naturopath. You've talked about Dr. Haver. So it sounds like nothing is off the table for you when you're navigating what in the world is going on inside your body. And so what are some things that you've tried as a woman going through it?
So definitely I've incorporated creatine before. I always thought, oh, it's going to make you big and fluffy and it's only for men and stuff like that. But I've been taking creatine probably for the past year, and I don't notice any bloating or anything like that. It's a minimal amount too. So I think it's like, I might get it wrong, but I think like 5 milligrams. It's just a scoopful. So I've been incorporating that, because that's supposed to help with, I've actually heard that it helps with brain health as in addition to strength training. my vibration plate, my trampoline, or the rebounder as they call it, very fancy term. And I was worried about peeing my pants too, but I didn't, because it's not like you're doing big jumps. So my kids had a trampoline when they were little, and I would be the mom that I'm like, no, I'll just watch you because I'm going to totally pee my pants. But this is like, you're just kind of like hopping a little bit. So it's not so much air, if that makes sense. You're not like getting a lot of air. So yeah, but just pee before you jump on it is probably what I'd recommend. But so far, so good. I have not peed, and I have been a peer in my previous life. So
that's good to know. Yeah, those trampoline park birthday parties, you can see all the moms lined up, and we're all like not jumping, or we're all really clenched. We're all very uncomfortably holding ourselves as we do. So
yeah. So one of the things, as far as like skincare, I have a prescription of the M4. It's by Alloy. It's an estradiol facial cream, because it's supposed to help with thickening of the skin. So I'll put it under here, because I'm not anti cosmetic surgery, anti Botox, anti any of that stuff. To each their own. I have so many friends. I've opted not to have any of that. And never saying never. I'm never saying that I won't ever, but right now I have not. So I'm trying to get all the potions and lotions and microcurrents and red light therapies and stuff that I can age as good as I can, right? So yeah, M4 cream, tons of, moisturizing. Oh my gosh, I didn't start taking care of my skin until probably a couple of years ago, because before that I was just like, oh, no big deal. Maybe I'll wash my face. This would be great. And maybe I'll slather on some moisturizer if I feel dry. And now my skin's like, give me moisturizer. Like, so I'm like always playing with different moisturizers, and I feel that it makes me feel more glowy. Whereas before I'm like, I do not want to shine. I don't want to be that shiny girl. So I put powder everywhere. Now I'm like, bring on the glow, because And then just really, as far as like food and nutrition, I feel like that is such an important key that a lot of people miss, or it's hard. It's easier to take a pill than it is to just consume good food or eliminate foods. Because I was going through, I gained like probably 15 pounds or so over the course of van life and things like that. And I was like, man, this is just not going away. And, I was working out the same. I thought I was eating the same, but I was like, I have to do things different. So some of the things I've done is I haven't eliminated alcohol. I just limit the amount of alcohol, because honestly, we were drinking a bottle of Prosecco a night, 5 to 6 days a week, between me and my husband, that's 2-3 glasses a day. And so now we agree to once a week. We'll go out. Usually date night is every Friday, and then we'll have a couple glasses of whatever then. And then I limit my amount of dessert. So I make my own protein ice cream now with my Ninja Creamy, which I absolutely love. And so that's helped with my, sweet tooth cravings. And I'm trying to walk a lot more, because really I lead a pretty sedentary lifestyle. Like, people see me work out and they're like, oh man, you always work out. I'm like, I'm working out like 45 minutes a day, and then I'm plopping it in my, in front of my computer for 8 to 10 hours a day. And so making it more of a priority to walk has really helped. And we just recently, totally off topic, got back from Italy, and I ate caprese salads twice a day, had pasta every single meal, or not every single meal, every single dinner, had 2 glasses of wine actually with every single dinner, and had dessert after dinner. And I came back 5 pounds lighter, which I think is crazy, which made me think, what is in our food here that, and B, I was doing more walking as well. Then, I was easily getting 10,000 steps, whereas like it's a real struggle, having a pretty sedentary job, that I was like, wow, that was an eye opener too. So I'm like, okay, I need to prioritize like eating better food, like what's in my food, as well as, prioritizing that walking.
Did you hear about the Women Mastering Midlife community but missed the enrollment window? Don't worry, your opportunity is coming again soon. Are you tired of feeling lost in the sea of conflicting menopause advice, struggling with symptoms that your doctor dismisses, wasting money on miracle products that don't deliver? The Women Mastering Midlife community is your solution. We offer expert guidance from a pharmacist and certified women's health coach, a supportive community who truly understands, research-backed resources at your fingertips, personalized strategies for nutrition, fitness, and overall well-being. But here's the catch: our doors aren't always open. Don't miss your chance to transform your midlife journey. Sign up for our waitlist today at www.missvictoriabird.com/community or join the waitlist through the link in our show notes. Waitlist members will get first access when enrollment reopens, exclusive content until our next launch, and a special membership rate only for those on the waitlist. I'm Victoria Bird, a pharmacist and certified women's health coach who created the community I could have used when I began to experience symptoms of perimenopause. Not only have I spent years researching the menopause transition and working with clients, but I am also right alongside you in the thick of it. This community addresses the whole experience of midlife, and with a sense of belonging only a group of women can provide. Take control of your perimenopause experience. Join the waitlist now at www.missvictoriabird.com/community or find the link to the waitlist in our show notes below.
Yeah, I mean, even the grains that they use to make their pastas are better over there.
Yeah.
And so I even noticed, like, I switched from either like a protein-based pasta, or I watched this Instagram couple, and he's from Italy, and he's talking about the color of your noodles makes a difference. And so I'm going more toward the ivory colored pasta and not the yellow pasta on the shelf. And it does better, like just digestive wise. And so I think even things like that we're just not aware of until we've experienced, like, oh my gosh, because we went to Italy and I was like, I am not restricting my alcohol, my food, nothing.
Nope.
And I came back and I lost weight because I had just walked.
Yeah.
It's like walking Disney World every day. Like it's amazing how much walking you do just naturally.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow. And we, working in front of computers and doing things on media. And then also I feel like our country isn't set up to walk. We just drive everywhere.
Yeah, it was definitely an eye opener because we also went to London and like how many people walk there. And it's just, it's a different culturally for sure.
Yeah, it's such a nice experience to be able to see that lifestyle can make a really big difference. And like you said, when you were talking about how you thought you ate well and then you started really paying attention, I think that's true for a lot of women, that sometimes you're like, no, I or they don't think they eat a lot, but then they aren't paying attention to like the mindless eating that we kind of do sometimes.
Yes.
So I think that's something that can just make a big difference. And I've noticed in you, I mean, I don't like to comment on people's bodies on social media, but I will say that I have noticed even your composition, you look stronger than you did a couple years ago. Like I just recently saw one of your workout videos. I was like, whoa, look at you, girl. And so I can definitely tell a shift in even just this amount of time from those things that you've done. And they all seem very reasonable.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, no, for sure. And it's like, you don't have to do everything all at once, right? But like really tracking my food, and I don't track it a lot, but I think it is important to track just to get, like you said, an idea of where you're at, because I don't believe in calorie restriction, like, oh, you can only consume 1,200 calories a day. There's so many variables, and I feel like you really need to fuel your body. With that said, getting a free tracking app like from Chronometer or something like that, where you can track your food and go, wow, I'm consuming I'll eat a half a bag of almonds, if I'm not watching myself. And I'm like, that's a lot of calories, just from snacking. And so having, spending maybe like a couple days to track all of your food and then go, wow, I didn't realize that actually is extra calories, or man, my carbohydrates are really high and I'm barely getting any protein. So I'm trying to prioritize protein as well. And so it's such a great insight, even if you don't track your food or track your macros every day, just to track it for like a couple days and go, wow, I had no idea that, I'm eating a plate of pasta this big, when I should be eating a plate this big, or this, you know what I mean? Figuring out like where all your calories and your macros are coming from.
It's easy to not pay attention to how much of something you're eating or how often you're eating something you're not even paying attention. My thing is the pumpkin creams in our house right now. I have a little candy dish of those candy corns, but they're pumpkins. And
oh yeah.
And there's so much, I love those so much better than candy corn for some reason. I feel like candy corn tastes like wax, but the pumpkins are delicious. And then I noticed, I opened the lid the other day. I was like, this has all been consumed by me. I don't even know if my kids know that they exist in that house right now. So I was like, oh, I just walked by and all of that is something to pay attention to. If you don't feel comfortable in, like right now, I don't feel comfortable in my clothes. I don't feel comfortable in my energy level, or even just when I am walking, I feel that weight that I'm carrying. It hits with every step. And so I think for women, not, you don't have to want to be a size two. You just want to have to, like, you
No.
just want to be able to carry your groceries or run after a grandbaby or, walk and not feel that load. And so those are
Yeah.
some good ways to just pay attention to that.
Absolutely. And like, I know for me, like, I know my own boundaries and I have zero willpower when it comes to certain foods, zero. And so I know that, and I won't always deprive myself, right? But if like I'm craving ice cream and I really want ice cream, I don't want the protein ice cream that I made, which is delicious, by the way, I will go out and I'll buy a single serving. I can't have a gallon in my house because I will consume the whole gallon. Like, I think it's something subconscious from when I was younger that it's like, okay, you need to eat everything on your plate. And so to this day, even if I'm full, I'll like consume mass quantities of food. So I know that like I can't have temptation in the house. Or if I want to enjoy something, I'm going to buy a single serving of it. Or, I'm not going to buy a bag of Reese's pumpkins because I will literally eat the whole bag of Reese's pumpkins. And
I
so,
do know that
but I'll
about
go.
you. Your love of Reese's, the trees, the pumpkins,
Oh,
the Easter eggs,
yes.
all of them.
The shapes, not the regular. I don't like those. Like those could be in my house all day and I won't eat them. But if they're shapes, forget about it. Yeah.
I'm sorry. It does probably feel creepy to you that I'm like, oh my gosh, I do remember that about you sharing
No.
that. Social media, like, Vicky, stop.
No, I love it. I love
Mute me.
it.
And I do think that, so you're working on a guide for women
Mhm.
about strength training. I think
Yeah.
that underlying all of your messages throughout all the years that I have seen you on social media, it's always been to be strong. And so I
Mhm.
think, but there's such an intimidation, like you said, over the gym and learning to start to use weights, that making this guide, I think, is really going to help women. So what was your, like, what got you started to think that you should do this?
Well, because I'd always have people ask me like, what workout are you doing? And I was just like, oh, I'm just doing this, or I would mix some things together. Or my son is a kinesiology student at WSU, and so I'm like, hey, help me make a workout routine. So I would just follow it, and people would always just say, what are you doing? Where are you following? Things like that. So I'm like, what if I just share it? Because I'm not a fitness expert. I don't claim to be. I don't want to be, but I like having, helping my Instagram friends, or friends that ask me questions. I want to have solutions. So I'm like, here's what I'm doing. And so it's a guide that just kind of really is just a template of the workout that I do every day. That's back and buys one day, chest and tries one day, 2 days of legs, and then shoulder. And so I'm just creating this guide that I use myself every single day because I believe it's important to track your weight so you can always progress. And then I'm just going to film videos just providing examples of what the workout looks like. Because I know me, I'm like going to YouTube and I'm like, what does this workout move look like? So hopefully I can give an example of that. And then just sharing some of my best practices that we've already talked about, right? Like prioritizing protein, getting our steps in, what to do if you're struggling with motivation. I am a huge Spotify playlist maker. And so I have playlists for if I'm feeling like old school vibes, or I need like hardcore workout, or I'm in a funk and I need something to lift me up. I create like playlists depending on what I need. And so, I'm going to be providing my playlist. So if people need that inspiration or that music motivation, that's going to be there. So just pretty much just sharing what I'm doing, but just in a really simple, like 5-6 page document. And hopefully it helps some women. So
I think that's a great idea. And I think that a lot of women can benefit from that who've never picked up a dumbbell before, because I do think strength training is a non negotiable in some way, shape, or form. And I think we're all capable, even if it's just with body weight to start or resistance bands, and then you move on to weights. But I don't know about you. I've lifted weights very consistently, very heavily for a very long time, and I've never looked like a professional bodybuilder. So
no, no. There's a lot more into professional bodybuilding than just lifting weights, like a ton. Like it's a full-time job. I have a couple of friends that have been in like those fitness competitions, and honestly, it's not one healthy or sustainable. they will tell you they go, like I had one girlfriend that shall remain nameless that she said she would sleep eat because her body was so deprived of calories that she would like wake up and she's got like ice cream wrappers all over her bed, you know? And I'm like, so yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of work to look for women to look bulky, you know, you got to lift heavy, you got to eat a lot. Sometimes there's other supplementation that goes into people looking bulky like that. So I'm not too worried. I mean, I like to think I lift pretty heavy and I don't think I look bulky at all. So
yeah, no, I think I've seen the weights that I kind of watch people's weights. I'm like, that's a 3-pound dumbbell. Like you're looking like that's really hard. And you have these massive biceps and that's a 3-pound dumbbell. That's not, you're misleading people. Don't mislead people.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't. And so I feel like that's also something that I've tried really hard to do for myself is to curate my feed. Like, who do I want to follow? Do I want to follow the women who spend 3 hours a day in the gym and they track every single calorie, ounce, you know, teeny half teaspoon of everything, and that's great for some people. Like that is a wonderful thing to aspire to if that's a goal for you. But I think learning to prioritize like what is truly important. A lot of women just need to sit down and think like, what's really important to me? Like, is this a goal of mine? And if it's not, maybe those are people you mute for a little while, or you know, you don't even have to unfollow. You could just mute and then they kind of go away for a little bit. Because I think following people that are of the mindset that support you and uplift you in a way that's important to your goals is important as well.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, I am agree 100% with what you're saying, because there's nothing wrong with wanting to look a certain way. There's nothing wrong with like having 6-pack abs and like showing them off and being in your bikini, but that's just not my goal. Like, yeah, I would like to look good in a bikini, don't get me wrong, but that's not my priority. My priority is like, I'm a grandma of 2. I want to be active and fit and the cool grandma, right? Really, at the end of the day, I want to be able-bodied. I've got what, I'm almost 50. So 30, hopefully 40 years left. And I want to enjoy those and not be reliant on other people or not being able to experience life because my body isn't strong enough to carry me through. Right. So I'm the same mindset that, you know, I do follow and watch some women that are very strict. And I think it's very commendable that that's their goal and that's their reality. And honestly, like Instagram, social media, you see a woman saying, here was me then and here is me now. And they're like, you know, in a bikini and stuff like that. That's not, I don't want to say clickbaity because it's not. It catches your eye. You're like, oh, I want that. I want that. But I just want to be a woman healthy and happy and having fun and living my life. And sometimes that's going to be in a bikini, albeit insecurely, because I tend to be a little bit more conservative in my dress, but you know, to each your own. And yeah, you just have to find out what makes you happy and what your goals are, and then really breaking them down. Why do you have those goals, right? Like if it's what society is telling you should look like versus what is really truly going to make you happy, I think are two different things. And if they aren't, you know, if they don't meet, then just kind of reevaluate where you're at.
Yeah. And I think that one of the things, if you're not already following Dionna on social media, you need to, because it's just there's so much joy. Like you try a hip hop class to see how that goes, and you're always stretching yourself outside of your comfort zone. And sometimes it's fun. Sometimes there is a slight discomfort, I've noticed, that I think is fun to watch. I mean, because it shows that you'll do things that you're not comfortable with and you still have fun and you laugh and, you know, life is an experience. So I think that's definitely something to watch and enjoy, and remember that joy is why we're here, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I don't know, like I got really comfortable and developed a really good relationship with failure. And when I did that, like when I realized like failure, yes, let's fail, then it kind of takes the taboo away from being scared to try anything. I mean, I still get really nervous. Like you put me in front of a group of more than like 3 people and I have to talk, forget about it. I don't like that. But I'm still going to say yes. And I'm still going to embrace the suck, because I suck at a lot of things, but it doesn't mean that you failed, right? You developing a good relationship with failure allows you to go, you know what, I'm not, everything's not going to be perfect, and I'm probably going to suck at this, but I'm still going to try. And everything is a learning opportunity, a learning lesson. So yeah, it's embracing failure has been such a great gift for me, because it allows me to put myself out there more than I probably would have, 7, 8 years ago, where I'm like, oh no, I'm going to mess up or whatever. So I'm not even going to try. Now I'm just like, I'm probably going to fail at this and I'm going to rock it anyway. So,
And I think that's such an important lesson we all could learn, because I think that we do get so stuck inside of ourselves and like worrying
yeah,
what other people are going to think, or the imposter syndrome is so big in women these days, and
yeah,
well, all the time. But I just feel like embracing the suck is a really good lesson to teach people
yeah.
that it's fun. And so, if there's anything that you would love for the upcoming women who will be heading into perimenopause to know, what advice would you bestow or knowledge would you impart on them?
I would just say educate yourself, because I think now, like, how many years I went feeling like I was broken or something was wrong with me, not knowing that this phase of life, this chapter, things are going to be different. And here's what's going to be different. And here's why it's going to be different. And you're not broken. You're not crazy. You're not any less than, right? Because I know that, like, us Gen X women, a lot of times we're kind of like the forgotten, the forgotten generation. And I love, actually, that menopause is such a prevalent discussion right now, because it's bringing more awareness that I think needs to be known for men and women, right? Because we don't often talk about, our spouses are going through this with us, and we don't even talk about that, right? Like, sometimes I'm like, ah, and my husband's like, ah, and so, realizing that we have to have those conversations with them as well. But yeah, I say educating yourself and be open to talking. It's not, menopause isn't a bad word, which I didn't realize that it was until sometimes, like, I'll be in the grocery store and I'm like, oh my God, my hot flashes are just acting up. And then the cash register lady is like, oh, girlfriend, don't even get me started. And then we talk about bras and boob sweat and everything. And then my husband's like, oh my God, I can't believe they're talking about this in public. And I'm like, that's what us ladies do. If we can talk candidly, then it allows all of us not to feel so alone. So
Yeah, I know my 13-year-old calls me the menopause lady. She's like, menopause, menopause, menopause. That's all you talk about. Everywhere we go, somebody comes up to you and talks about menopause. That poor child.
she's gonna be so educated though. Like, it's sinking in. It's sinking
Yeah.
in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and my husband, he has medical training. They don't learn anything about. They never taught anything about menopause, period. But orthopedic surgeons don't know. Certainly don't know
Oh.
anything about it. And so he's like, I mean, I just fix broken bones and tendons. I don't know anything about what's going on over here. And then he's got 2 teenage daughters. So I think, yeah, he's learning a lot about menopause. It's funny. I was like, oh, I wonder if we could do a research project on women who come in with carpal tunnel syndrome and see if, like, are they on hormone therapy? Are they not on hormone therapy? Like, is this something we can get into? He's like, oh my gosh, you're even bringing menopause. It's everywhere.
I think that's a great idea, because I actually went to I think it was a sports medicine physician. I don't know the difference between I'm not very good at that stuff, orthopedic, whatever. But yeah, for my frozen shoulder, and they gave me a cortisone shot. Did nothing, absolutely. And they're like, well, if that doesn't work, then we'll just put you under anesthesia, and then we'll just, like, rip it or whatever. I don't know the technical term
Yeah.
to, like, break all the whatever's in there. And that sounded horrible, but never once was it, like, discussed that, oh, okay, this is a symptom of perimenopause, so we need to kind of. And I did a book club not too long ago full of menopausal ladies, and a couple of them had shoulder surgery, and they're wondering now, they're like, did I need that at that time? Like, what was that required, or was it just a symptom of perimenopause, frozen shoulder, that would have kind of, could have done physical therapy or some other modalities, or even, HRT to kind of help rectify that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So everybody out there, educate yourselves. It's
Yes.
pretty much the take home for today, for sure. And also, I think, like you said, you've had a book club, you're, like, openly talking with women. I think that's another thing we need to be okay with doing is just sharing our experiences, because the minute you hear that me too, like, oh my gosh, aha, you have that aha light bulb moment of, maybe this is something bigger than I am just going crazy.
Yeah.
So thank you very
Yeah.
much for sharing your story with us today. And it was fun.
Oh.
I could just talk to you for a really long time, but I'm sure nobody needs to listen to us talk for 2.5 hours. I'm like, really, Vicky? Could you please just but
They'd love it. They'd love it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could talk about boob sweat. I think that's an important thing.
Yeah. why that? It happens. Like I did it when I was when I was getting ready today. I was in my robe and I'm blow drying my hair, and all of a sudden I'm like, boob sweat. And I'm like, trying to clean it up. And then my husband comes out and I'm like doing this, and he's like, oh boy. Yeah. Nothing. Yeah. This house is full of sexiness. I tell you what.
I know. Well, my moment was I was trapped in a sports bra that didn't have a clasp. It was one of those, like, they go on over your head, but then you get hot and sweaty. And so then I was like stuck in it, and I was like popping and cracking in ways that I probably shouldn't. And then like the bra pads get all folded inside. And so then you have like the weird lumpy things going on, and then you're like trapped. And I was literally thinking to myself, can I cut myself out of this, or should I ask for help?
Yeah, and it like rolls up versus like just coming off, like, or putting it on. Yeah. Yeah. What is up with those little bra pad things though? Like why can't they just fit in there? Like I just end up pulling them out, and I'm not big chested at all. So that's the only thing that actually gives me shape. But I'm just like, I can't.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I pulled out all my sports bras, because that's another thing. My boobs have like expanded massively with all these fun perimenopausal things.
yes.
And so I was checking all my sports bras, and then I looked underneath, and there's like 75,000 bra pads. like a bra pad cemetery in here that I've like been ripping them out for the last, I don't know, decade, and just throwing them into a bucket. Not that I'm ever going to use them. I don't, but I can't throw things away.
I have the same thing. I have the same thing. I think I have them in my top drawer, and they're just like, they're like little stacks. Like I'm like, you never know when I'm going to need a pair, and I've never needed them. Never.
And you could keep just one pair. Like we could have a conversation about how we don't need every single pair that come with the bras.
That would make sense, but
yeah. Okay, we're going off on way too many tangents, but thank you so much for talking with me today. And anybody who wants to find Dionna, you can look in the show notes. I'll have all the links to all of her things. And it was good talking to you.
You as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for joining me today. We will be back next week for another episode of Women Mastering Midlife. Until then, find us on Instagram at Women Mastering Midlife or Miss Victoria Bird, and join us in the Women Mastering Midlife community to continue our discussions. You'll find links to what you've heard here today, as well as ways to connect with us in the show notes below. This podcast is intended for entertainment, educational, and informational purposes only. Please note the hosts, guests, and experts featured on this podcast are not your personal healthcare providers, life coaches, or advisors. The content should not be considered as professional, personalized medical, psychological, or prescriptive advice. This podcast is not a substitute for consulting your physician, therapist, local pharmacist, or relevant professionals to discuss your specific concerns and situation. The topics discussed should not be used as the sole basis to diagnose or treat any medical condition, make significant life changes, or make important decisions regarding your health otherwise. Women Mastering Midlife is not responsible for any undesired outcomes resulting from actions taken based on the information provided in this podcast. The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests only and do not represent any of those other individuals or entities. Always consult with qualified professionals before making significant changes to your health regimen, lifestyle, or medical plans.